start with chapter number 17, that is culture and science. So in this chapter, let's study about the ancient culture, and I will tell you about the iron pillar and buildings of bricks, architecture, and some temples of North India and South India. So first is the iron pillar. So different archaeological sources like historical sites, monuments, domes, architecture, sculpture, painting, literature, they provide us useful information for the reconstruction of history. So we can say that the monuments of ancient India was perished due to climate change. देखो क्यों पेरिश हुए थे? Due to some climatic condition. So whatever is still intact, given the useful information, the ancient iron pillar of Delhi at Mehrauli. So iron pillar at Mehrauli near Delhi, it's a wonderful example of what? That is metallurgical skills of Gupta craft person. ये 7.2 meter height का है और जिसकी weight है वो 3 tons है, and it is made 15 years ago, right? And Chandru mentioned that Mehrauli pillar, and there is a lot of controversy among the scholars on this point. So iron pillar is a solid shaft of pure trustless iron, 40 centimeter in diameter, still standing with at least sign of what? Rustling corrosion. Last over 1500 years. In the Gupta period, the art of casting metal reached a degree of development. Here you can see we have building in bricks and stone. So the skill or the craft percentage they do that architecture or has reached a high degree of excellence during Gupta period. The perfection which is the art of sculpture attained during this period suggests that it has a long period of continuous and steady development. Right? So the artistic remains of this period may be described as stupas, pillars, palaces and caves. और जो buildings थी इसकी variety stones की and bricks. Right? If we talk about stupa, it is solid domes-like structure of brick stone resting on a round base, and you can say that it is surrounded with a shaft or an umbrella, a symbol of spiritual sovereignty. And while there are several kinds of stupas, sometimes a stupa was surrounded by a plain or an ornamented stone railing running all around, having one or more gateways, which were often of highly elaborate patterns, and they are decorated with what rich sculpture. The object of grafting as stupa was to enshrine some relics of Buddha. The most famous example of the stupa is big stupa at Sachi near Bhupan. And stupa, they were mainly made of stone and composed with 3 parts: a bell, abacus, and sculpture that is round. Now it's consists of one or more animal figures such as lion or elephant, the sacred dhanchak symbol engraved with sculpture, the inverted lotus, a wonderful life-like figure of the 4 lions standing back to back, and the smaller, graceful and stately figure of animals. A notable point about the structure of this period is that the artists of this period tried to impart religious instruction to the people by representing their stories about Buddha from Jatkat. The best example of this type of pictorial entity sculpture is single panel. That is found at Amravati, where elephant, Nalgiri, they are shown as a running hammock in the state of Rajgir and ultimately become a calm when Buddha touches its forehead. Right? Now Amravati was a place where stupa was constructed in southern India. So we can say that instead of red sandstone, marble was used. आप देखेंगे red sandstone की जगह marble का use करा गया, right? और ये राउंडर था, टॉल था, स्लिम था, and in fuller and delicate modeling थी इसकी, and it is represented in most difficult poses and curves. The monastics need to see what it's produced rock cut architecture of great importance in India, and a large number of temples, halls, places of residence for monks were constructed in the 2nd century. Right? So for sculpture, representation of Amravati, Nagarjun Konda and other places, we get some of the idea of secular building of this age. Right? Imposing structures several story high were constructed, and they had arched windows, plastered or polygon pillar, open terraces and balconies, and separate entrances of the 5 arcs. A large number of temples were constructed all over South and South India. Durga was also worshipped in the temple, and these temples become centers of public and religious life. So the Shiv temple था जो कहाँ था? Tanjore में. It was built by Raja, the great 1000 CE, largest, highest and the most ambitious production of temple architecture. The main structure है वो 55 meter है and had great sikara or a tower that consists of 13 13 successive story rising at the height of 58.46 meters. So we can say that most of the temples have space जिसको हम मंडपा कहते हैं. What we call it? मंडपा, where public meeting, social gathering और जो religious कीर्तन है या कथांग है freely held. Now, in addition to our temples, some of the finest rock cut temples were built in Tamil Nadu, as your Mamlapuram and Ahom. It is old name and known as Mahabalipuram. The temple है जो कहाँ situated in the town of Mahabalipuram, 52 kilometers south of China in Tamil Nadu. These temples are remarkable not for their size but for the exceptional character of their design. Now, if we talk about architecture, the building of that survived from the past speaks volumes about craftsmanship of the India. One such example of the ancient building is stupa and other religious monuments as chaityas, monasteries, temples, shrine, which is mound. There are different kinds of stupa, big as well as small. The first such evidence of stupa was the Sachi stupa in Madhya Pradesh, which is built during the reign of Ashoka. The Sachi stupa was in lights twice in size under Sungar, a path known as Pradakshina, a path laid out around the stupa through which devotees encircle stupa. Now, if we talk about cave architecture, so the development of the cave architecture is an important phase in the history, and more than 1,000 caves have been found in where different parts of it. Prominent among these Nasik, Karlan, Betsa, lovely chaityas, halls of worship, viharas, monasteries, mandapas, rats, cave temples. ये सब क्या है आपके rock से बने. Now, temples of North India, Gupta period support Brahmanism, which helps to build. यहाँ पे आपको images विष्णु के, शिवा के और other Hindu gods के. They built earliest temple which is dedicated to these deities. और जो temples हैं, they were constructed around the Garbhagriha, right? And the room where image of the deity was placed. Temples at Deoghar, Bhitargaon are good examples under the Gupta. Yet another examples of Gupta craftsmanship is iron pillar in Mehrauli. जो कहाँ है Mehrauli? Delhi. ये आपका आयरन और आपका नालंदा एरिया. Now, temple in South India. So, in South India, beautiful stone temples and cave shrines are found in Ahol. Badami belongs to early Chalukya, right? And these temples are dedicated to Vishnu and Shiva. The Pallava built number of stone temples in the 17th and 8th century, and the most famous of them is Rat Temple. जो कहाँ मिला था? Mahabalipuram. At 65 kilometers from Chennai. The Shore Temple is the same city, is an example of structural temple which was built from the bottom or the top unlined stone. The temple at Kachi, Madurai has lofty gateway, is from Gopi Ram's Ketan. Right, then we have painting. So the art of painting dates back to the period of the early man, where caves walls were filled with figures of animals and birds. Cave temples at Ajanta and Ellora, ये औरंगाबाद जो belong to the Gupta period, and they have beautiful paintings जो किसको depict करते हैं scenes from the life of Buddha and Jatakas. ये realistic है, natural है, right? It's realistic and natural. Now if we talk about literature, so our literary tradition जो है वो बहुत ज़्यादा rich है, old है, and we have literature in different languages or dialects. जैसे आपकी संस्कृत हो गई, पाली हो गई, प्राकृत हो गई, तमिल हो गई. In South Indian, Sangam literature was composed, which consists of short and long poems, which is composed by numerous poets in the praise of about heroes and heroines. Two great Tamil epics were, that is Silpadikaram, right, which is composed of Ilango and Manipur. Now, during the Gupta period, a good amount of Sanskrit literature was produced, right? And the creativity जो आपको सबसे ज़्यादा मिलती है best, that is here of Kalidas, and which is dramatic, right? So it was during the time that two great Sanskrit epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, were compiled, और जो Purans थे, they were also finally compiled during the Gupta period. If we talk about Buddhist and Jain texts, the religious book थी Buddhist और Jain की, they were written in Pali and Prakrit. So जो Jatakas है वो किस पे डील करते हैं? Previous birth of Buddha. और Tripitakas in Pali contains rulers of daily life of Buddhist monks, and the Jain texts, जिसे हम अंगास कहते हैं, उपनिषद कहते हैं, they contain teaching of Mahavira and the ruler for the guidance of Jain monks. If we talk about medicines, so medical science was fairly advanced. The Ayurveda mentioned different methods that is used to diagnose disease. It also prescribed the medicines. Now, science and technology. So Aryabhatta was the most famous mathematician of Gupta period. He calculated value of pi, that is 3.1416, right? And if we talk about travelers, we have many travelers that visit, that is Fayan visited India in 5th century. Huan Sang Kawaitik was a famous Chinese pilgrim to 630 CE mind. Right? And he wrote his memories about places he had known. Right? This chapter has been completed. Now we will move to the exercise. Now take the correct option. First is diameter of Mehroli pillar is 40 centimeter. Important rituals that were performed in the Griha. तोरांस आर जो तोरांस थे वो क्या थे आपके देवर गेटवेज. तोरांस क्या थे? गेटवेज. Who wrote महाभारत? किसने लिखी थी महाभारत? That is Ved Vyas. The meaning of stupa, it is mound. Sachi stupa is in Madhya Pradesh. Now fill in the blanks. First you have to write the 2 Tamil epics. You have to write the names of 2 Tamil epics, that is Silpakadam. The iron pillar at Delhi, it belongs to Gupta period. Dash is built by Pallavas, the example of structural temple, that is Kailash. Aryabhat gave an almost accurate value of pi. Aryabhatta wrote Aryabhattiya. A stupa is a solid dash structure of brick and stone. Dome structure. Now true for Ajanta caves are known for their painting. True. Kalidas was a priest, astronomer, poet, false. Stories about God and goddess are found in Ramayana. It's true. The epic of Mahabharata and Ramayana are compiled during Gupta period. The epics of Mahabharata and Ramayana were compiled in the Gupta period. That is false. Mamlapuram is the old name. It's true. Next is earliest Cholakya temple was built in Ahol around 600 AD. It's true. Now iron pillar, Mehroli. Shiv temple, that is Tanjore. Mahabharat epic है और Sita Navsar Tamil. Now answer the following question. Write a short note on Sachi Stupa. What are the special features of temple of South India? आपको specific feature बताने हैं stupas की. Mention any 4 features of stupa. Right? Describe the contribution of Indian people. आपको Indian people का contribution बता रहा है the metal work. What is mandap? What are torans? Where do you find the painting of high glory and what is stupa? Stupa क्या है? That also. Now we have completed this chapter. Hope you understood. Now let's meet in the next class. That's all for today. Thank you.